It's been a while since I've done a full network design here on YouTube, but today I've got a good one and it's for a good cause. The Yellowstone Wildlife Sanctuary is a not-for-profit organization, and they are all about providing lifelong sanctuary to non-releasable greater Yellowstone ecosystem wildlife while sharing a message of education and conservation. So that is a great cause, protecting animals and educating the public. And if you're interested in donating to the Yellowstone Wildlife Sanctuary, they do have a donate button right on their website. But being that they're a nonprofit, they have a very tight budget. So let's take a look at their situation. Their needs and requirements. Right now, they have everything running off of a sort of off-the-shelf big box store router. I think it's an Asus router, but they're okay with replacing that Asus router if we need to. They need solid, reliable connectivity to a barn/outbuilding. It's about 80 meters from the main building. They have a maximum budget of $1,000, but we want to give them the option for dual WAN as a consideration of this project, being that their current ISP, from what I hear, is not spectacular. I asked them about Starlink, and they said, we would love Starlink as an option, but the monthly costs of Starlink are not in their budget now, but we're going to build in dual WAN capability just in case they have that as a budget option in the future. Now, they currently purchase some equipment. Even though it's not quite the right equipment, we're going to work with what they have already purchased. They bought 2 Dream Router 7s, or the UDR 7s, and they bought 2 U7 outdoors. And here is sort of the overview of what's going on. We have a main building down here. Let's see if I can zoom this in a bit. We have a main building down here. That's their main office, as well as their gift shop, their store. And then they have a barn over here, again, about 80 meters away from that main building. Now, this was their initial proposed network diagram. They had that Asus router in place as the termination point for their internet. Into that Asus router was plugged some equipment like computers and VoIP phones, as well as cameras. Then they had the Dream Router 7. This isn't in place yet, but this is what they were going to put in place, is the Dream Router 7. And if you know anything about gateways, this is now a double NAT situation, all right? So we're gonna address that as well as part of this, but since that Dream Router 7 has some switch ports, as well as some PoE, they were gonna put in a VoIP phone, and then they're also gonna run their credit card processing system, their point of sale system off of that store Dream Router 7. Also plugged into that was going to be the U7 outdoor, and they were going to mesh from the store over to the barn. And, you know, doing a 250-foot plus mesh network between those 2 U7s is maybe not the best idea. So we are going to address that as well. And then the barn is where they were going to put that second UDR 7, and then they have some cameras and computers out there. Let's take a look at the Google Maps overview. Here we can see the main building right here, and then we can see the barn in the upper left-hand corner over here. That, again, is about an 80-meter span, and it looks like it's some tree cover, and then this might be just like a housing pen for some animals or something. But if you get some point-to-point antennas on both of these roofs, you can probably find a way to do line of sight and make that link work. And that's going to be a much more solid, reliable link than trying to mesh wireless at that distance. Okay, so let's dig into what we actually have designed for them. Now, I did this design on a live stream just yesterday in conjunction with a lot of folks who happen to be watching that live stream. So thank you to everyone who joined and helped add in your commentary to come up with this final design. What we're gonna do first is we are going to throw that Asus right out the window. We're not gonna use it anymore. Instead, we are going to, at the main office, put in the first UDR 7. That's going to be their internet termination point. That is also a dual WAN device, so they can potentially add in a secondary WAN connection, be it Starlink or something else in the future. And then we are going to buy the first of 3 PoE switches. And the one that I went with here, given their budget, was the USW Lite 8 PoE. So they have one PoE port on that UDR7, but then with the Cross Connect, it's basically one PoE port and one non-PoE port available for their devices. So they need more ports in the main office. They can use this switch for that. It'll have 4 additional PoE ports, and they can plug those computers, VoIP phones, and cameras, etc., right into this USW Lite 8 PoE switch. And then we're going to run Ethernet over to the other side of that building, the store or the gift shop side of that building, where we're going to put in another one of those USW Lite 8 PoE switches. And coming out of that switch, we're going to have the U7 outdoor. And we're going to put on those omnidirectional antennas that come with this access point. That way, even if it's on the exterior wall of the gift shop, it should still be able to penetrate somewhat for clients that are on the inside of that gift shop. And if not, they always have the option of adding an additional small access point because of this switch that we've put inside. But given the budget, we're going to start with the U7 outdoor and see if that just provides the coverage that they need. And then we're going to get into the fun stuff. This is a point-to-point wireless bridge over to the barn with a pair of Nanobeam 5AC Gen 2s. These are the 5 gigahertz equipment. They're $99 for these antennas, so they're relatively cheap, and it'll get you about 300 to 400 megabits across this link. Now, the one caveat with these devices is the PoE, the power over Ethernet for those nanobeams, is 24 volt passive. So you can power them up in a couple of ways. You can use a PoE injector, or to me, the cleaner way to do it is to use this guy right here. This is the INS3AF-I-G. And what this does is it takes PoE out of the USW Lite 8 PoE. It'll take 802.3 AF PoE out of this switch, and it converts it to 24 volt passive PoE. And then since this is going to be in Montana and definitely subject to some nasty weather out there, we are going to make sure that we are protecting the exterior equipment with these Ethernet surge protectors. This is the ETH SPG2. So basically what these do is you feed a line in, it'll pass through PoE just fine, and then you feed a line out, and then you also properly ground these devices. Now, as far as best practices go, you want to have one of these devices on the interior, right where your connection is leaving through the wall. And then you want to have a second one of these devices on the exterior close to this Nanobeam 5AC. Make sure that they're both properly grounded, and then this serves as a circuit breaker of sorts, where if that Nanobeam 5AC Gen 2 gets struck with lightning, it's not going to travel through the copper wire and affect your equipment on the inside. This will provide a means for that lightning to go into the ground, and you're probably going to fry the Nanobeam 5AC Gen 2. You're probably going to fry one or both of these Ethernet surge protectors, but your equipment on the inside should remain protected. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, this U7 outdoor probably could also benefit from a pair of these surge protectors. So I'm going to put that in as an optional item, but the U7 outdoor is going to be up against the wall, probably under the eave of a roof. So it's going to be a little bit less susceptible to lightning than something like these nanobeams that are going to be right out in the open and like on a little pole arm, just waiting for lightning to come down and strike them. On the other side of this point-to-point wireless bridge, we are mirroring that exact same setup. We have our Nanobeam 5AC Gen 2, a pair of Ethernet surge protectors, one on the outside, one on the inside. Then we have our 802.3 AF to 24 volt passive PoE converter, and then into a third USW Lite 8 PoE switch. We're also going to be reusing the second of the 2 access points that they have on hand. And since this is a barn, we'll put this on the outside with those omnidirectional antennas, and it should provide plenty of coverage for both the area outside the barn as well as client devices that are wireless inside the barn as well. But just like the store, you have the option with this PoE switch to add a small interior access point in the future if you need additional coverage. And then whatever computers, cameras, etc. are out in that barn will be plugged into this PoE switch. So this is a much more robust design for this type of deployment. It's certainly going to be better than trying to mesh between those two U7 outdoors at the distances that we're talking about here. But what about the pricing? Let's take a look at that next. The Dream Router 7, they already have that. So that's something that they already own. The same thing with those two U7 outdoors. They already own those as well. So what we would be buying here is 3 of the Switch Lite 8 PoEs at $109 each. 2 of the passive PoE converters at $20 each, 4 of the Ethernet surge protectors at $12.50 each, 2 of the NanoBeam 5AC Gen 2s at $99 each, and then I tossed in a couple of mounting arms. Those are about 20 bucks a piece on Amazon. So the grand total here is $655, well under that $1,000 budget. And remember, we also have a spare UDR7 that can now be resold on eBay, probably get, between 200 and 250 bucks for that thing. On the top end of that if it's new in box. And so that will take some of the money off of this budget as well. So there you have it, a detailed network design for the Yellowstone Wildlife Sanctuary. Would you be doing anything different in this design? Do you have any suggestions for improvement maintaining their budget of less than $1,000? Put that down in the comments below. I'd love to read about it. And if you'd like to keep this party going, I have hand selected a couple of videos on the right here for you to watch next. The top video is my recent review and unboxing of the U7 Pro outdoor access point that was just released. And the bottom video is a much bigger point-to-point design and deployment that we did for the silver mining ghost town of Cerro Gordo, California.